Hello everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the Wolverine Beat. Nick Baumgardner, I'm Brendan Quinn. This is our weekly ramble on all things Michigan sports. Plenty to talk about right now. I got basketball starting. We'll get to that in a little bit, but obviously football is the sun, the stars, and the moon right now.
You knew this. You knew this when you came here, whether you wanted to admit it to yourself or not.
Yeah.
It is,
and justifiably so. Though it's the team's looking like the real deal. The Harbaugh impact has been pretty meteoric, I'd say, and now it's back. We talked about it yesterday, but big game feel, big game week. You know, things are kind of cooking around here. I'm expecting Saturday to be rocking and rolling down at the stadium. You know, big buzz in the air, all that good stuff that people.
Right.
You know, it's why you like college football. It's, believe it or not, maybe why people like us got into doing this.
And this is sort of the thing that you look at and you say, well, this puts it all in perspective. The last time that I can remember since I've been here that Michigan's had a game at this point in the year, we're in week six. It's week six. That really mattered. That really had an impact on something, because this one does. And I want to say it was like 2012 maybe, you could say. Like, they played at Nebraska, and that had some implications. And in 2011, obviously, when they had that good year, but we're talking, that was a couple years, that was 3 years ago.
Sure.
You know?
Sure. And
so, 2013, it never happened. 2014, obviously, never happened. That's 2 full years where you just didn't have any games that meant anything other than whatever was, 2 feet in front of your face. So that's different. And, this does have a real feel to it. And you mentioned earlier that it looked like the real deal. Parts of the team looked like the real deal.
Mm-hmm.
The defense looks like the real deal. I don't know how else to say that. I think a lot of people. I wrote a column over the weekend, and people thought I was saying that this defense is an elite defense, and that's the stamp that we'll put on them forever. And I'm not trying to say that, because you can't make that judgment until the year's over. But over the first 5 weeks, I don't know how else to say it. You dominate a team in back-to-back weeks like that. I really don't care who you're playing. If you're holding somebody to 105 yards and no points and no hope, that's elite. Yeah. That's elite. I don't know how else to say it.
Right. And when you get into the offense and the holes that do exist, obviously the offense would be the talking point there. But I mean, outside of the top 5, 10 something programs in the country, I mean, how many elite across the board teams really exist in college football at this?
Apparently not at all this year. Right. Everyone sucks. I guess that's the argument right now.
Everyone's watched Ohio State here, and there's clearly issues.
They've got some problems
on that team. So
I don't know what they are.
If you have one of the best, you look at your TCUs and your Baylors. Okay, they have some of the best offensives in the country, so that makes them elite. Well, then if Michigan has one of the best, one or 2 or 3 defenses in the country, they could conceivably be in that conversation. We'll obviously get into what we think is going to happen this weekend, but as of now, I don't see why not.
Yeah, and that's the conversation always with college football. If you have one unit that is elite, which we're not going to say that this is yet, we have to find out. They have to play somebody for real. If you have one unit that is elite and your other unit can just carry the water, then you've got a chance to do everything.
Right.
And that's it. This isn't the NFL. You don't have to have, you don't have to be terrific on all sides and everything. You just have to. If you have one unit that is great, truly great, then if your offense is truly great, all your defense has to do is just hang on. If your defense is truly elite, all your offense has to do is just hang on. Don't screw it up. And that's ultimately been the conversation that we have now with Michigan, is that can your offense, against a good team, which they're going to see on Saturday, can the offense not give the game away? Because the last time they asked Jake Rudock specifically to go out and do something more than just manage the game, it was at Utah. He threw 3 picks, and those 3 picks were the reason. And we can sit here and go back and blame who was at blame on those picks, whatever, doesn't matter. Those 3 picks were the reason why they lost the game.
Yeah.
So that's now the question here, and it always comes back to the quarterback, no matter how much Jim Harbaugh doesn't want to talk about it. It always comes back to that, especially right now, because my goodness, if we're sitting here saying if they had a quarterback who could make all those throws, they would be we'd be talking about a top 5 football team maybe right now in week 5, week 6, whatever. But that's the only thing holding these guys back. right now. I mean, that it really is. You've got a quarterback who's, you saw last week, there's a couple throws there where, he throws one low to Drake Harris, where Drake Harris has some room. If you get it right in his chest, maybe he can make a move and maybe he can go. There's one where he overshoots Chesson. That was windy. It wasn't a great day. But again, put it there, maybe that can happen. Again, I also think there's something to be said about they don't really have any true game breakers at wide receiver either. But if Rudock can just get the ball to where it needs to be and put it on time to where these guys can do something with it, these plays that are being called and designed are open all the time. I mean, some of the play calling has been fantastic, and some of the play design has been, Michigan fans haven't seen that in a long time.
I mean,
maybe ever.
You just wonder how long you can survive without completing a pass over 25 yards downfield. Because they have plays, you can get it to Jake Butt on a screen or to Drake Johnson on a screen, and they can take it 30, 40, 50 yards. But at some point, you have to have something. I would think.
Don't have to do everything.
I would think.
Just have to do something.
When you need breaks in games and you need plays to kind of to hinge a close game when you're playing real teams, you need something at some point. Like, just to think that you can get away with doing this the whole time, maybe you can. I don't know. I would lean toward thinking at some point you got to do something.
If you're gonna be a truly really really good or great team, it's got to be. You can't be one-dimensional.
Right.
And we've talked about this all year, and that's it. So this week against Northwestern, next week when they play Michigan State, we're going to find out, basically once and for all, if Jake Rudock can be a guy who can do a little bit more than just manage the game, and when he needs to make a throw, do it. And if he can, then the ceiling goes way up for these guys. Because if he can, and we're not saying he's got to go out there and throw for 350 and throw it all over the field and do all these crazy things, but if he can just make chunk plays at crucial moments of the game, a handful of them, and your defense plays up to its capability, you're going to be really hard to beat.
Yeah.
And that's where this team is trending. So, but again, it all goes back to him.
So what are you thinking for Northwestern?
I think Michigan has the edge there. Because we look at it and we say the same thing about both teams, right? I mean, Northwestern's in the same spot. Their run game is what they lean on. Their run game is they run the ball more than anybody in the country. They've ran it 57 times a game. I think 285 attempts, which is number one in the country. More than these option teams. More than Army and Air Force. They run the ball more than them through 5 games. So all they've done is relied on that running game. The passing game is last in the league, and it's last in the league by quite a bit. They have a redshirt freshman quarterback who isn't asked to do a lot, hasn't turned it over, but also hasn't made a ton of plays and has struggled at times. Northwestern's sort of feasted on, they've gotten some special team scores or big plays from the special teams, some defensive scores, and then just a slow burn with the running game. If Michigan can put everything on Northwestern's offense and say, you got to beat us, your guy has to beat us too, just like Rudock has to beat. That's the question is, Rudock's got to make plays, but their guy has to do the same thing. Rudock's a fifth-year senior playing at home. Clayton Thorson is a redshirt freshman playing at Michigan State for the first time in his career.
Sure.
So I would give an edge to Michigan in that, because ultimately it's whoever's quarterback. I think whoever makes more plays.
See, I think it's whoever makes less mistakes. And that's why when later in the week I'm probably going to end up taking my initial gut looking at the game last Sunday was it's going to come down to mistakes. And when you look at the numbers, Northwestern commits less turnovers and is called for less penalties. In a game like this where the defenses could very well cancel each other out.
You can't have it from your fifth-year senior. That should be an advantage.
Absolutely, it should be. It should be. But what
needs to make it that way.
What has happened this year doesn't say that might be the case, though. So, in a game like this where the D's could cancel each other out and the offenses are both kind of languishing along, whoever makes a mistake is going to lose the game. Michigan right now looks more prone to do so. So I think it could be Northwestern maybe squeaking out a point. Win by a point or a field goal
6,
or something.
1st to 9.
Yeah, pretty much. So.
I said that last week. Well, and I think that's 1st to 9 probably does it, because that's a 2-score game. Yeah. So now it's a 2-score game, a touchdown, field goal, whatever you want to call it. There you go. 1st to 9 gets it. But we say that.
At least we're not talking about the weather.
We say that it'll be 65 to 64. Yeah, true. We're not talking about any hurricanes. So that's good. I don't think there's anything on the horizon this weekend.
No.
Hurricane homecoming, and that's about it.
I think it should be pretty clear. But it will be. What kind of an environment are you thinking?
It'll be juiced, I think, because like I said, this is again, this game, we're in October. And now you've got a game that really, the only times in those last 2 years, they played Notre Dame here in 2013. That game had a lot of juice to it, but that was, a night game in September, and nobody really knew what was going on yet. This is week 6, and it's a big Big Ten game. It's 2 top 20 teams. Some people have Northwestern as a top 10 team. Maybe they've earned that. Northwestern is looking at the driver's seat here with Iowa to play in Indianapolis for the Big Ten title. Ton on the line for them. I think they probably feel like this is an over-the-hump game. They just really struggled to get past Michigan under Fitzgerald. And then for Michigan, it's, hey, it's another chance to prove that you're here to play. You're here for real. That's
obvious. I mean, on Michigan's side, if they win this game, then it's hold on to your butts, because next week is going to be
it's
completely out of hand.
It's always out of hand, but
no, but I mean, it's not just going to be. It's not just going to be the normal.
No, it'll be different.
Am I allowed to say pissing match?
You can say whatever you want. This is our show.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I don't think it's going to be the normal pissing match between Michigan and Michigan
tangible
State.
things at stake for more than just bragging to your neighbor for 365 days a year.
Right.
If both teams win this week.
National implications. They got to get there. The whole deal. It'll have everything.
And when's the last time that happened? I mean, those moments in this rivalry, those have happened so few and far between. They have happened, but there's so few of them over the years, because neither program has been, or they haven't been good at the same time together, truly good at the same time together, consistently in ever. I mean, 2011, they were both 11-win teams, and that was a year where you could truly say that that game when they played in October meant more than just what was in front of them in terms of hey, you're an idiot and my team beat you and all that sort of stuff. It had impact on their seasons. It had impact on maybe winning a Big Ten title, whatever. Both teams went on to win 11 games. They both had really good years. There's an example of it, but those examples are pretty rare, and that's why this is different than Ohio State and Michigan. That you can look back years and years and years and years of Big Ten titles decided on that day by that game. Not very much with this one, so could be. We'll see.
Could be interesting.
They got to get there though. Michigan's got to beat Northwestern, and Spartans have to. I don't know who they're playing. They're on the road, right? Rutgers.
On the road at Rutgers.
You got to get by.
They're 20.
I don't even know who's left.
I think they're 26-point favorite or something.
I don't even know who's left.
Right.
DJ Yoshi will be having them jumping out there at whatever that field's called.
You were there last year.
Yeah, it was
weren't you locked into it or something? Trying to get out of there?
Yeah, we almost got locked in.
The night game?
Because it was a night game, and my God, Michigan, who was a total mess, gives up 400 yards to Gary Nova, then almost comes back and wins the game.
Right.
Should have won the game, or should have had a chance to. I think they screwed Darbo on a catch at the end there.
There was something
whatever
late.
It was. So Michigan, all of their problems, comes back and probably should have won it, or just about did it anyway, with everything against them. They lose their starting running back in that game for the year. Everything's just stacked against them. Rutgers almost blows it 6 times, storms the field, tries to rip the goalpost down. They have the DJ on the sidelines mixing and everything else. It was just it was like, well, this is something. Then we almost got locked in.
Big Ten football at Rutgers.
Apparently the new Big Ten, But enough about that. Some other stuff happened this week, or last week, I suppose, other than football.
Yeah.
Basketball opened up for the first time, and you were there to see the boys. I was not, so take it away.
It was, the way something like this works is, first of all, so John Beeline rarely opens anything.
Yeah, about once a year.
For us. Yeah, about once a year.
Twice a year.
And for this, it was an hour open gym, essentially. There was no scrimmaging. There was no 5-on-5. It was mainly just to kind of see some of the newcomers and things like that. And obviously, there's only 2 with Moritz Wagner and Duncan Robinson. But got to just kind of catch a glance of those 2, and Wagner needs a lot of work. And I think it's going to be a while. It was pretty telling during the press conference before with John Beeline. He said, or it might have been on the radio with Sam Webb earlier that morning, but at some point over the course of the day, he said, Morris Wagner, it could be 2 months, it could be 2 years, but like that. But he has enough.
He's gonna get it.
It has enough. He has enough talent that at some point it's gonna
Right.
come together. So that's a kind of a broad window there.
He's a big guy. Isn't
He is
6'10", like
he
legit
is.
6'10".
He's a legit 6'10" guy, and he has handle. You know, you can see him when he's out by the 3-point line. He is comfortable
Yeah.
with the ball in his hands. He is not. He's not gangly. He
Right.
has put on real weight since he got here.
Too early to ask what he would even play. What he would even be.
I think he projects to a 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that I don't know how much he plays this year.
Right, but I mean, what his position would be.
No,
and
I
how
think
much he
I think
plays,
down the line I see him as a stretch 4.
Mhm.
I don't know if he's defense and rebounding will be questions
Right.
for him that he'll have to answer somewhere down the line. That is so far down on the list of real questions that impact this season, though.
Sure.
The team is so deep. You know, and that was one of the things I was sitting up in the stands and with another reporter, and I was just looking over the court, and I just turned and I said, "Shooters everywhere," because there were guys on all, you know, they have the auxiliary baskets set
Yep.
up, and there were just dudes at each one just burying shot after shot after shot. All of them can shoot. You know, maybe outside of Ricky Doyle, but then I'm sitting there and I'm watching Ricky Doyle. He's knocking down threes.
Okay,
Now,
well, that's weird.
No, let's calm down. This is practice, and he's
Right.
just standing there.
Standing
but,
around.
you know, they got guys who can put the ball in the basket, and they got a lot of them. There are guys who are bigger. DJ Wilson is bigger. DJ
Mhm.
Wilson has arms. Cam Chapman has definition and shoulders and things like that. That, you know, that's what you can really look at in an instance like
We've
this.
seen that before too
Yeah.
with guys
Right.
from that year 1 to
Yeah.
year 2.
The freshman jump
Yeah.
with John Sanderson.
I mean, every guy's different in terms of one guy might have a higher ceiling anyway than the next, but you can go down the line of guys. Even Trey Burke became more of a physical. I mean, he was more talented than anybody else anyway. But even he saw him from year 1 to year 2, and he was just more solid. So I think that's now. What does that mean? I guess for their games, you know, does that? I don't know. But
Well, I mean,
would
being
think
in better shape helps.
Yeah,
That
obviously would help.
translates,
But in
right.
terms of for a guy like DJ Wilson, I think they're going to ask him to play some of the 5. Is he going to be able to do it?
DJ Wilson needs to embrace contact, and him being bigger and stronger
Yeah.
is obviously the first step to doing that. He is a guy who plays away from contact. He is a guy who hesitates when contact is coming. Remember
So that's a mental thing.
the play against Villanova?
Yeah, where the point guard blocked him.
When he caught that,
Just good
he
God.
caught that pass. He turned around. If he would have caught, pivoted, and just gone up and dunked it, he would have been fine. But he caught it. He turned, and he knew
That guy was coming.
that guy from Villanova, was it Oshefu? Was
a guard.
I think it was a bigger guy.
I thought it was a guard.
Okay. Well, either way,
It was like one of their big guards.
guy
stocky
coming,
guy.
and DJ Wilson knew it, and he stopped,
He got buried.
and he went down, and then he went up, and it was too late. It was too late. So those are the things when you're bigger, stronger, you know, and those are the things that I hope to write about this later in the year, but they are working on plays like that, looking at them and how your body movements impact
Yeah.
exactly what
Like
happens
balance,
in
maybe,
instances like that.
reaction. Yeah.
We had a brief chat with John Sanderson about it yesterday. It was fascinating stuff. But with guys like that, yeah, I mean, they need to putting on the weight is the first step to the progress, but we have to see it on the floor. You know, Cam Chapman needs to.
Well, the light's got to go on
Needs to
for him.
play.
Wilson. I could say you could. I mean,
This is
that
his
might
freshman
take some
year.
time.
This is his
and
freshman
he's
year.
playing in a tough spot. Cam Chapman has presumably all the tools he needs. Just, I think that maybe that's more mental.
Right. I can't tell
gotta
if
think.
he is slow or if he played slow last year. And that's what I think needs to be shown. Because if he could just speed things up, react, play.
Yeah.
You saw it a little bit at the end of the year. When he caught the ball,
Little
put it on the
spots,
deck,
yeah.
and went to the basket and scored. You know, because he's really crafty with the ball. You know, he goes to his left. He finishes with his left. He's a guy who has all those pieces. But last year, I mean, it just seemed like his shoelaces were tied together
Right.
at times.
I don't think he had a lot of experience with high-level competition in high school.
No, and he sat out an entire
He
season.
sat out an entire season. I think he was playing like JV at
Yes,
one point,
yes,
not that long ago,
yes.
which
His
was
junior
embarrassing for
year-
the other JV players. I think,
His
but-
junior year, he played against
he
JV and
transferred a
averaged,
lot, yeah.
28 points a game or something
Right.
like that. But as a senior, he was still only playing Class A or Class 2A ball in Oregon. He was playing
Right.
the lower
Yeah,
the lower
small
schools. So yeah, it's obviously a huge jump in competition, and But even at the same time, when we watched him in the preseason last year, and
he's got everything he needs.
we saw Chapman playing with Michigan, with
he was
with his
he
teammates.
he earned a starting spot.
He looked fine. He was making those jump shots because he could not.
He wasn't
buy,
a starter on accident.
He couldn't buy a jumper last year.
Right, but again, it's there because he started the season as a starter.
Yes.
Beeline's not putting him in there as a starter as a freshman because he just feels like it.
No.
I think he's not doing that as a knee-jerk, weird thing. He earned a spot, and then it went away.
And because if it doesn't happen, if it's
he was one of their best five.
If it's not seen from him early in the year, then you start asking, what happens?
You got to do it. At
What
some
happens
point.
with him?
Yeah,
Because
of course. I mean, it gets
Aubrey
late.
Dawkins might end up being a star
You get lost in
by
the
the
shuffle.
time he's a senior, if not sooner. And then Duncan Robinson.
There's the other mystery man.
I have no idea.
Mhm.
But all I do know is that when I was watching him, as advertised,
Yeah.
he shoots the hell out of the ball, and he's one of those guys. It's no rim.
Mhm.
It's just right in the back of the basket, right in the back of the net.
Did they do any
Every time.
scrimmaging or anything?
No.
Or no? So that's because now we got to see if he can do it in the crowd.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's got to do it, with somebody coming at him.
I don't know how quick
defender.
quick his trigger is.
Right.
Getting off his own shot. Can he get his own shot off
How
the
athletic
dribble?
is he? Yeah.
Can he rebound in space? Can he rebound his space? And can he become? He's not the quickest guy in the world.
Right.
It doesn't look like. Can there be matchup problems if there's someone bigger and stronger or shorter and smaller? But he has spent a full year in the strength and conditioning program where they work on quickness
That's
and
true.
lateral
Gotta remember
speed.
that. Yep. He's here for a whole year.
That for all we know, by the battle for Atlantis, that question could be answered.
Mhm.
That he can defend and he can shoot. And you can run some offense through him because he's a really good decision maker. He knows John Beeline's system. He played in it in his prep school and at Williams College. Those are all kind of disciples of the Beeline system. Those coaches there. So he was born to play the system. Mike Maker said those exact words to me the last time I spoke to him. Now the coach at Marist, who coached Duncan at Williams College, born to play the system. And you know how Beeline
That's why Spike's
loves that. Exactly.
I mean, that's
so that's that. Speaking of Spike, but I guess before we get on to questions,
Well, Irvin was the other one. Did we learn anything about his prognosis or what's going on there?
he's out there. He's not spending practices on a trainer's table.
Right. He's not.
He's
in
up.
He's
and
not in a
walking
wheelchair.
around. He's dressing
Okay,
out
good.
for practice, but he's just not doing anything.
Good for him.
He's apparently
That's a tough blow for him. He was
gone.
really.
Yeah, that is a tough blow. He's gone back to. He shoots free throws.
Sure.
He can do some dribbling stuff, but they need to take their time with that. Everyone
Well, we saw what happened
People
the last
kind
time
of
a guy had a back injury around here.
assuming, ready for the opener, ready for this
Mhm.
or ready for that. Back surgeries.
Well, Mitch, he was. He's obviously a different guy. He's a bigger guy, whatever. But
And could be
I
different
don't know what the
injury.
procedure is.
We have
but
no idea what.
He came back too soon.
Right.
And it cost him. So you don't want to push that.
I don't know.
Tough deal.
I don't.
And
I
you're not going to know. He's not going to say.
No, he will not say. It'll be curious to see what goes on there. With Spike, I think they also need to take their time with him. I'm
probably.
watching him.
Double hip surgery.
Watching him run up and down the court, it just blew my mind that now double hip surgery is just
Come on.
patch him up and send him back out there like like a hockey player who gets
Advancements in-
stitches.
Advancements in hip surgery procedures.
So, but he's a little slower and he's going to take some time to get back to 100%. He admitted as much. He said when we spoke before practice, I have to use October just to get right.
Yeah,
get,
I would
get
think
this
so.
thing back up to speed and get used to some things. So that'll be interesting to see. Derek Walton looked great. Derek Walton, seeing Derek
Yeah, I would
Walton
think that would be-
run without a limp
Right.
was pretty refreshing.
First time in a long time for that.
Yeah, I mean, he just looked so much more comfortable. He looked so happy to be healthy. And Karis LeVert looked like Karis LeVert. We see him back on the floor. I'm kind of very curious to see what level of,
Figure for him.
give me the ball, I'm going to be the
Yep,
man.
It's got to
you
happen
see
now
out of
because
him.
it didn't happen before he got hurt. Last
It was.
year.
I think it was getting there
Maybe
a
it was
little
getting-
bit,
it was- yeah, it's
and it
probably
happened
getting
at times.
But not enough.
The Villanova game, that's when the conversation after that was, Karis LeVert's ready to be a
He
bad.
won the game for him, yeah.
He's ready to be a bad dude. He's going to take this
Right.
team, but then defenses just threw the kitchen
Right.
sink at him, and then you had that combined with Derek Walton playing at 50%.
Irvin wasn't quite what he was at the end of the
Irvin
year.
was shooting
Yeah, he was
28%
really
on
struggling,
threes.
yeah.
It was a perfect storm for
Right.
it just not working.
Right.
So questions. That is
All right.
enough out of me. My God.
Well, I guess we're going to go back to football. I think there's one basketball question here, but we can go a couple of questions. We'll go with Aaron's on Twitter. A couple of them were the same about, do you get the feeling that Michigan is football again here? You get the feeling Michigan's holding stuff back on offense right now?
Well,
Are they holding stuff back on
I would
offense?
imagine that there's more in the playbook that is vertical and down the field that you're not going to use right now, right?
Maybe, yeah. Well, I mean, in terms of like, have they ran everything that
Certainly
is
not.
in Harbaugh's bag? No, they may never.
Right.
Because the other part of that too is, if you pay attention and you watch closely, they're adding new stuff out of left field, just one or two things every week that is just like, whoa, okay. There's the last week they ran the stuff out of the T formation where you get the three backs and like kind of the big house backfield where you got your halfback in the middle, you got a tight end back out of the fullback. They ran a counter out of that. They ran like a power sweep out of that. They ran a couple of pass plays out of that. I mean, they ran, and that's a part of it. All these different things that they've put in, they're putting in things that you look at it and you say, well, that's a great play. They could probably do like 2 or 3 other things out of that.
Right.
So I don't think they're holding back necessarily. I think they're just sort of incrementally putting in what they can. And also remember, they have a quarterback who they've compared to like an NFL free agent who's learning the system. Graham Glasgow, I think, said it better in that, in some senses, he was like a freshman when he got here. And he didn't know anybody, and he didn't know anything about the system and everything else. So I think that's part of it too. Holding back? No, I think they're trying to do everything they can.
Right.
I don't think that's something where they're just, I don't think they're like, keeping their left low, waiting for somebody, you know what I mean? Because I think some people get the sense that they're like, well, they're not showing. No, they're trying, they're trying to score points here.
Yeah.
I mean, they're coming up with, and they're coming up with some really great stuff. The screens last week were just, I mean, my God, they were terrific design, and they were at the perfect time. Even the 2-point pass they ran. Was normally you probably wouldn't go for that 2. It'd be a little, I think the chart would say it's too early for that, but I think they ran a really nice pick play. They've gotten real good at the pick routes. So I don't think they're holding back. I just think that there's like a plethora of stuff. Jim Harbaugh just, I mean, they come up with new stuff every week. I mean, he watches, I think he even said, he said he's come up with stuff watching high school tape. So, I mean, the end or the limit of what they could show, just every week it gets higher and higher. Who knows? So I don't think they're holding anything back, but you certainly haven't seen everything in the bag. I mean, and every week it's a little bit different, but we'll see. I mean, that's where people ask too. When is Peppers going to play on offense? When is Peppers going to play on offense? I don't know, but maybe at some point they throw him out there for one play just to scare somebody and say, look what we can do here.
Maybe.
And they're doing that with a lot of other stuff. They're putting out several different formations or several different looks to be like, hey, this might not have worked, but you know what? We probably run 4 things off of this. Now you got to watch for it.
And they're also cognizant of, the guys who are already doing so much. There's no.
Yeah, you don't want to overdo it.
Overburden. The perfect example being taking
J.U.
Chesson off of kicks, right?
Yeah, well, off of the punt return.
Just to lighten his load, because he's out there, he's blocking. He's playing like a madman out there, doing everything he can to help, on every single play.
Yeah.
There's no reason to.
And he had a guy that had earned the right to get on the field.
With a race.
Which I thought was interesting, too.
Yeah.
Not to get too off topic, but I think that's an interesting topic in that the true freshman thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you, he said flat out, other than linemen and quarterbacks, guys that get in here and are ready to play as freshmen are going to play because they're going to have better careers. That's it. I don't care if they can help us in any way, they're going to play, because by year 2 or 3, that means they're going to be better. They're better athletes. They're better players. They should be rewarded. That should be a thing that they're singled out. That's a competition. That's another one of those mental things that Harbaugh throws out there, and he says it out in front of everybody again and says, if you come in here and you can play as a true freshman, I think you're pretty good.
Yeah.
And if you can't, I don't know what I'm going to do with you. Because if you come in here and you're playing one of these skill spots and you redshirt, that doesn't mean a whole lot. Redshirting you, the only guys it seems like to me that he has real plans with when they redshirt are linemen and quarterbacks. If you're coming in as a skill guy and you redshirt, that means you're just not good enough right now.
Right.
And who knows what's going to happen. He's already talked about that 5th year stuff. Like, you might not be here. I might not give you the 5th year. So if you didn't play, that just means you didn't play. You weren't good enough. So I think that's interesting too.
Yeah. I mean, I love the idea of the race.
Yeah, right.
Line up, race, and
whoever wants in wins the race. Good Lord.
And to his credit,
some of these guys have got to be like, "What is going on here every week?" But they're probably used to it now. But yeah, it works. Mr. Michigan on Twitter asks, any scheme changes anticipated with the loss of Ojemudia?
I think that's a plug in and go on
Yeah, I don't think there's
a situation there. I mean, Mario was obviously playing at
He was.
really high
He
level.
was. That's a terrible deal for him too, because
But it's I also don't.
really
I also
feel
wouldn't
bad.
circle him as a guy that like no one can replicate what he does. You
no,
know? He was playing really
but he was,
well.
He was
but
savvy. I mean, he's got a savviness. You know, that's what I think that was the best way to put it with Mario. He played enough football where he had enough savvy. Where I think they were starting to do some different things with him. He was a big part of their dime defense, where they move him around. He and Morgan would move around quite a bit in some of those blitz schemes. Not that I'm not saying that Royce Jenkins-Stone or Lawrence Marshall couldn't do it, but I feel like Ojemudia was out there because he was more savvy, and that's a spot where you need a guy to be kind of a heady player. He's got to be a playmaker. He's got to be a heady player. But the one thing also to remember is those guys, whoever it is, if it's Jenkins-Stone or if it's Marshall, again, to answer the question, I don't think they'll change much.
All right. Okay.
Whoever it is, they're going to be playing on a defensive line basically. They'll have to stand up some, but basically with Glasgow or Hurst, Wormley, Willie Henry, you know, these guys who are just dominating people. So it's not like that Buck linebacker is going to get triple teamed, because if he's playing next to Chris Wormley, pretty sure they're going to be more worried about Chris Wormley. So he's going to have an opportunity to make plays. It's just going to be, can he be disciplined? I think this week's a big test because Northwestern wants to run. They always want to run on the edge. They run that read option. They're going to want to test you on the edge, and of course, I'm sure that Fitzgerald knows that Mario's gone. Let's try and test that new Buck linebacker. See if we can get something on him. First touchdown of the year that Utah scored. Royce Jenkins-Stone overread a play. Travis Wilson walks in on touch. So
making all kinds of noises over
it's
here.
a big,
Sorry, guys.
it's a big spot, and it's a loss that they will feel. I don't think it's one that they can't ever overcome.
Sure.
But it's certainly something that is noticeable. And again, I don't know if enough of this was made. That's a terrible deal for Ojemudia.
Absolutely.
And you feel bad for him because he's a good kid. He was playing really well, and he is like, if it would have happened like 2 weeks ago, he could have gotten a medical. But it's just like, I think 30%.
30% sounds right.
And he's just over the mark, and it's like, geez, I mean, just brutal. So his career's done at Michigan, and if he can come back and maybe make a run and try and give himself a look in the NFL, we'll see. But
I mean, for anyone to go through what this place has been through.
Well, any college footballer, to work that hard for that long.
Absolutely. But like, I'm just saying, these guys, you're Joe Bolden, guys like that. They're
getting, he's the same guy.
They're getting payoff right now for just years of garbage.
Exactly. I had one basketball question here. I saw. What are the odds, Wagner? Red shirts. We kind of touched on that.
I don't know about red shirting, and I don't. I'd be. I don't know, because we haven't really seen him. So anything that I'd say there is complete guesswork. For all we know, he's in there making threes, making great passes. It would be a total guess. There's spotty, bad
if he can play, they're
YouTube video of him that
if he can play, they're going to use him. They need guys that are big.
Yeah, right. That's the thing. You saw it. You saw it last year. I mean, they were using.
Right.
They used everybody that they had at that 5 spot.
They're going to do it again.
And if if say DJ Wilson can't play the 5, just say that it just shows that he just can't play the 5, and Mark Donnell makes no progress from last year, and Ricky Doyle can't play 32 minutes a game for endurance reasons and conditioning, things like that. Okay, well now you have to put someone down there, and he's although at the same time they're going. I think they're going to play really small often this year.
I think they have to.
Really small.
Yeah. I think they have to.
With no centers on the floor.
Yeah. They've done it before.
Right. So I think that's a thing.
Think 2011, 2012 Michigan fans when Jordan Morgan was a sophomore and all they had. And McGarry wasn't here yet. And they were playing Colton Christian at center. Colton was like 6'6", and didn't do much. I think they tried to play Blake McClymonds in there, and that didn't work. So it was just Trey Burke, Zach Novak, Stu Douglas, Tim Hardaway, and some guy. And that's what they did. And they could all shoot. So
I think
won the Big Ten.
I think
doing that.
There's a good chance.
Beeline's best coaching job of his career, in my opinion.
think
that year.
there's a good chance of seeing that, but just with a lot more talent.
Right, more talent
across those spots. Obviously,
of course,
Trey Burke is
Trey and pretty good.
Trey Burke is certainly, but
so is Zach and Stu. You can't bag on those guys, right?
not unless you want a major Twitter war, dude.
Two legends, legends amongst men.
All right, we're at like 35 minutes.
Yeah, that's it. We got more questions. Maybe I can stock some of those and put them in the mailbag. Got a couple questions about how long the staff will stay together.
Oh,
interesting. But maybe we'll put those in the mailbag. We'll do that later this week. So we're running long anyway, so I'll pocket some of those questions and we can get to them later in the week.
Very good.
That's it.
Wrap it up.
That's all we got. So we'll be back on Saturday for the game 3:30 kick, which is unfortunate, right? No more noon games, at least not this week.
I think
so
3:30 is all right.
Live blog will be 1:30. Yeah, 1:30. So we'll be in there then. You can join us then, and then Brendan and I'll be back on a video after the game to break it all down. That'll be it for Brendan. I'm Nick. We'll talk to you guys later.